I was one of the very few, if not the only person, who was very, very sad when Prime Minister Almec died. For all of, I mean, I understand that he wasn't the most important character, but I mean, he kind of was important if you think about it, because otherwise, like, Darth Maul needed a puppet leader to rule Mandalore, and theoretically, if Prime Minister Almec had not been in the picture, maybe Darth Maul would have just had Gar Saxon act as Gar Saxon or some of his Mandalorian warriors act as Prime Minister, and they would have been popular enough because they could have just taken on the Pre-Vizsla mantle. But I will say, Prime Minister Almec was very, very good as Darth Maul's puppet leader, organizing the Battle of Mandalore and all of that, as well as the fact that Prime Minister Almec, he's really the guy who really worked hard for Mandalore, because in terms of what he did, he was providing food and resources for the Mandalorian people, where Duchess Satine Kryze failed to do so. He was looking out for them and making sure that Mandalore could stay afloat economically during the Clone Wars, because Mandalore was a neutral system and didn't have access to too many resources and support, so Almec made sure that Mandalore got that support. Of course, the way he did it was not the most ethical. Oh, by the way, I really like his purple eyes. I mean, we don't have a clearer picture here, but he had purple eyes. They're pretty nice. Yeah, I really like the guy. And think about it, like, it was just, he was pretty cool if you really just consider it. Now, in terms of the reason he was killed off, I mean, obviously because the plotline said so, because it was more dramatic that way, because it was dramatic for him to die while he was revealing the fact that Darth Maul wanted Anakin Skywalker to come to Mandalore. And also, keep in mind how Darth Maul, in future storylines, there's not many storylines for him. I mean, they could always create some, but at the moment there were not many storylines for him. And secondly, in terms of Darth Maul, where Darth Maul is concerned, like, Prime Minister Almec has outlived its purpose, so it's the Sith just discard and throw away whoever is no longer useful to them. And also, keep in mind how Darth Maul, like, why didn't Darth Maul go out of his way to kill Gar Saxon and recast the same way he went out of his way to kill Prime Minister Almec? And the reason for that is probably because Prime Minister Almec has some extra knowledge, I will say, because Prime Minister Almec is so well connected to the criminal underworld and crime families that Prime Minister Almec probably had some very good insider knowledge, specific insider knowledge on the specifics of Darth Maul's criminal ventures, and Darth Maul knows that the Empire is going to rise soon and take over Mandalore, so if Almec is still there and Darth Sidious finds him and starts questioning him, then he might crack and just tell Darth Sidious everything about Darth Maul's criminal empire and ventures. So Darth Maul had to tie up the loose end to prevent any more of his important information going out. Yes, so that's what happened. And as a final note, as I said, I really like Prime Minister Almec, and I would have had him survive. And I would have probably not created the character of Dryden Voss. Instead, I would have just put Prime Minister Almec there and had Almec take that role. And so Prime Minister Almec would be, in fact, the guy in Solo: A Star Wars Story. He would be the one dealing with Tobias Beckett and Han Solo and Kira and Chewbacca. And Prime Minister Almec would end up, maybe he would still end up dying in Solo: Star Wars Story. I'm not really sure what I would do to him, but maybe just have him make a cameo. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what I might do. But Prime Minister Almec, if I had cast him, I would have probably casted his voice actor to play him. I'm not really sure exactly what I would have done, but it would have been interesting. It would have been very, very interesting, to say the least. Oh, and keep in mind how Prime Minister Almec broke Darth Maul out of prison instead of Dathomir. Him and Gar Saxon and Rook cast. And look at the way Darth Maul repaid Gar Saxon, Rook cast, and Prime Minister Almec. I mean, and of course Prime Minister Almec said that he was just repaying Darth Maul for the time that Darth Maul broke him out Almec out of prison. And so, yeah, sure, debt paid, but, like, still, Maul, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, I think it would have been wise, maybe if they had gotten Prime Minister Almec off the planet, like, what was he planning on doing? Like, did he think Darth Maul was going to break him out of prison? Like, obviously, betraying Darth Maul would mean he would just die, so maybe he was just afraid to betray Darth Maul. What did he expect to happen? And frankly, I think Prime Minister Almec should have just gotten off the planet, gotten off of Mandalore somehow. Maybe Darth Maul should have sent him off of Mandalore. Like, there were ways to avoid him dying, but oh well. And the bigger question is, what happened to Corky Kryze? You know, Satine's nephew, Bo-Katan's nephew. What happened to him and the cadets? Like, what happened? Last time we saw Corky was punched in the face by Gar Saxon, and that's really the last time we saw him. So, were they killed? Like, wouldn't that have been a bigger story to tell? Like, why don't we know what happened to them?